Hope everybody had a nice lunch. I am in that coveted spot, that after lunch speaker. So I appreciate you all coming back and trying to stay awake. As we talked about a little bit before, I'm from Merck, and so I'm going to take you through today kind of what's been our program. It is not 10 years old, so I don't have a wealth of background experience like you heard from Don today, but I think we've got a pretty interesting story, so I hope you like it, and we'll have lots of time for Q&A at the end. So I do need to keep the lawyers from getting upset with me. I do need to make sure that we have the forward-looking statement because we have lots of changes within Merck. We actually are going through a merger right now, so I need to make sure I cover all of my bases with that. But what I really want to do is start, first of all, telling you a little bit about Merck, but then really talk about what it took to get us to maturity level 1, to get to maturity level 2, and then where we're really trying to achieve, which is maturity level 3. So let's start with a little bit about Merck. Hopefully you've all heard of Merck, but I always like to start with this slide. This is actually the cover of Time magazine from 1950 with George Merck. And you know, the bottom line is always the company has said we need to put people, the patients, and the medicine first. Profits will follow, but it's really about making sure that we're taking care of people first. So that, I think, really talks a lot about the ethics and the integrity of our company as well. Now, we're a pretty big company, and as I mentioned, we just went through a merger. So last year, our sales just on the Merck side were almost $24 billion, or 2008, $24 billion. Schering-Plough was $18.5 billion, and we're actually part of a joint venture with them. So that gave us another $4.5 billion. We now have 106 employees all around the globe, 9 different product areas that we look at, therapeutic areas, and we actually operate in 200 countries around the globe. And we have a huge R&D investment because obviously we're trying to find those next great medicines to bring to the people that need them. Now, I'm hoping you've heard at least of some of our brands. So I tried to put a bunch of them up there, but hopefully, you know, you've bought Coppertone, we are in Florida, so sunscreen here, or Dr. Scholl's, but also maybe you've heard of Gardasil. Gardasil is that commercial, that one less commercial that's a vaccine for cancer for girls. Hopefully you've seen that, or maybe you've taken a Claritin or a Singulair during allergy season, but we have a wealth of products that we have as part of our portfolio. So let me give you kind of the background of our program evolution. And it really starts with Dick Clark. And it's not the Times Square Dick Clark, in case you didn't notice from the bald head there. Dick became our CEO at the very end of 2005. And when he did, he actually came out of manufacturing. So go figure, we actually have a CEO that came out of manufacturing. And he had employed Six Sigma in manufacturing, and so he really gets it. He knows the value of that. And he knew when he then took over as CEO that he wanted to make that part of the company. So when he launched the Plan to Win, which he did in 2006, shortly after taking over, that was going to be a key element of what we were doing. He then had us launch Merck Sigma shortly thereafter. Actually, it was January of 2007 that we launched that. And we got the program going and found that just the traditional Lean and Six Sigma really weren't enough. So we've added change management. You heard Don Linseman talk earlier today about enterprise process management, which is a key element that we've included in our program. And then we suddenly learned that we were part of this big new merger that we've now been trying to figure out how to bring those two companies together that we further take our program on. So again, it's an evolutionary story, but it's not quite 10 years old yet. So this is Dick, and this was actually him receiving his executive belt. His sponsorship started with having the entire executive committee go through executive belt training. It's a 2.5-day training class that they get. But the most important part is for them to get certified. And in order to get certified as an executive belt, you have to sponsor a project from start through to completion and show that there's demonstrated business results. So Dick got his executive belt, which he keeps very proudly in his office, and he's probably our best spokesman. I can pretty much count on Dick at every employee briefing, in a lot of the meetings that he holds around the globe, internally and externally, to talk about the need to really have our Sigma program in the organization, that's part of the cultural norm that we want for our company, and that's really going to be part of the pipeline of talent for the company as well. So again, he's just a fabulous sponsor for the program. The mission that he's given us is to really get Merck Sigma into the DNA of the organization. So we're not really looking for a bunch of black belts or master black belts that are going to be, in certain spots around the corporation. We want this to be part of the norm of the organization. We want everyone to have that lean mindset, to really understand, what the problem is and how we're going to get to the root cause of the problem. And we want that to be part of our everyday activity. Why did we need this, and why has Dick been such a big champion? Well, for those of us that are here in the US, you can't really watch the nightly news without hearing about healthcare reform. Health costs are too high, we need to do something about it. And while pharmaceuticals are really only 15 cents on the dollar of healthcare costs, that's still a big chunk of healthcare costs. So there's this constant effort that we're looking at in terms of how do we keep costs down, while at the same time, we need to invest a huge amount of money, typically it could be $1 billion, to get a new drug to market. So if you're looking at the amount of investment that we need versus what we need to be able to bring new medicines to people, it's a big challenge. And looking for ways to lean things out and streamline really works very, very well for us. So Dick created the Plan to Win, which starts with making sure that we are the trusted, valued provider of pharmaceuticals to our customers. And then we look at making sure that we've got innovative, differentiated products, that we've got a really great portfolio, and that we have a great model for distributing to our customers. It used to be that you would hire more sales reps to sit in the doctor's offices. Well, I don't know if any of you have been to the doctors lately, but you probably haven't seen as many of those folks in the coat and tie